Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, an epic night last Saturday where they fought in Madison Square Garden. Probably one of the best fights, maybe the best fight that I've ever seen. And it has nothing to do with them being women. But I think they finally put women boxing on the map. And the reason I say that is because it was already a historic night. But when you look at what the Puerto Rican Amanda Serrano, and the Irish Katie Taylor, and that brawl that they had, although Katie Taylor retained her belts, I mean, you're talking about 1.5 million people tuned in to watch that on the Dazn app. And the thing about this, right? You had some people who already subscribed to the Dazn program, and then they definitely got some new viewers. And I'm glad to see those big numbers because both of the ladies were guaranteed purses in the high six figures, so like 800 to 900,000. But then the upside was going to be based on how many new subscriptions, and there was pay-per-view. So when they worked the numbers, the CEOs and stuff at Dazn, Eddie Hearn, Jake Paul, and MVP Promotions, they worked the numbers. They figured that the ladies would definitely make seven-figure purses. But what it looks like here is they definitely made their seven figures and probably made a little bit more than what they had anticipated. And that's outstanding because the crowd was sold out. 19,187. That's amazing. Then you look at 1.5 million viewers. Now, we know there's all kind of illegal streaming, people with Fire Sticks and everything. But this right here these were record numbers for Dazn, and not just for women's boxing. So for Dazn, they're now paying attention because when you look in as far as which markets had the most new subscriptions to Dazn, the majority of those came out of Ireland. Okay, so that's a good thing. But when you look across the 170 markets that drove the global viewership, there were seven countries that the most fans tuned in. It was Spain, Canada, Ireland, Germany, Australia, and Italy. And then you had a couple more who helped to round out some of those numbers, like Brazil, Japan. But this is just really, really a big deal. Now, when you may say, well, why is that a big deal, okay? Because when you look at what Jake Paul is talking about, and he's putting a lot of pressure on Eddie Hearn to find a way to pay these ladies, 8-figure purses. So at minimum 10 million each. But Jake really focused on Serrano, but Jake, he wants all women to win. So going into this next fight, there's going to be even more sponsorship, even more, you would think, pay-per-view sold. Subscriptions should balloon again. And there's going to be a lot more visibility on women's boxing as a whole. But in particular, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, because that fight was just high energy, high impact. It was violent. It was everything that you want to see in a boxing match, and hand-to-hand combat. And I think definitely if they made, maybe between 1 to 2 million, I know they made more than $1 million, but let's say they made $2 million each. I can definitely see that figure driving up, maybe another few million. So both of them, well, you got to look at the purse split too, but I could definitely see Serrano's purse doubling and Katie Taylor's purse probably tripling. And they deserve it. And it's just amazing to see that happening. And for Dazn, I think they're pretty pleased because they've somewhat figured out marketing boxing. Eddie Hearn has helped a lot with that. Some would say he's hurt Dazn a lot too. But in their business model, I'm sure they looked at what their budget and knew on the front end when it came to just them entering this boxing market. Eddie Hearn says this repeatedly, but I'm sure they knew that they would have to pay people what they weren't worth, but essentially take a loss, a financial loss. And when you see like what happened here over the weekend with these record-breaking numbers, I think that gives them a sense of reprieve where they feel like it's almost like when you take a deep breath and blow it out. I'm sure that helped them recoup if they were in the red at all, which I don't know that. Whenever any representative for Dazn speaks, whenever Eddie Hearn speaks, it's always very positive, and like all of their endeavors as far as boxing related have been very successful. But when you have something like what happened this weekend with record-breaking numbers, subscriptions shooting through the roof, you can't help but wonder if that helped them to almost get to the break-even point, or maybe now they're really starting to see huge profits as a result of them being involved in boxing. But again, I don't know that. This is just me kind of trying to understand. I understand the excitement. I understand everybody being happy about the milestones that were set. But it can't help but wonder if they were kind of, sweating. Like, because if they didn't get those record-breaking numbers, then the event wouldn't be considered a failure as far as the history made. But maybe the event would have been seen as a failure because they didn't do the numbers they were hoping. And then old crocodiles like Bob Arum, who says people don't get excited for women's boxing, you prove him right. So what happened this weekend is you prove those old crocodiles and people with that archaic way of thinking, you prove them wrong. And when you have somebody like that, like super negative, their thoughts, if you're close to them, their thoughts cling to you like barnacles, man. And the more of that negativity clinging to you, those barnacles starts to bog you down, and you have to find a way to pry that off you, man, to lighten up your load, so you can move, so you can march out. And I think by this event being so successful, they were able to definitely, man, break lock with all those barnacles that were clinging to them because people were just doubting. When I say them, I'm talking about Eddie Hearn, Jake Paul, Dazn, or anyone supporting female boxing. Able to break lock with that and get those barnacles off of them, and now they're stepping, they're long strides. You know what I mean? They're feeling good. But Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, they feel like they won. They enjoy their sport. They want to keep making history. And when you got the CEO of Dazn talking about how what happened this past weekend was a triumph for just women's boxing and Dazn, and everybody's super excited, man, and that's how it's supposed to be. But I guess we'll see what's happening next. But what this just did for me is it confirmed that going forward, the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano rematch is a no-brainer. You got the MMA crossover fights out there for both Serrano and Katie Taylor. Cyborg wants it, Holly Holm wants it, Nunez, like they all the female boxers in MMA would like to get a piece of Serrano or Katie Taylor. And one, like I said in another video, I think it's, their pride, and they want to show everyone that they're true fighters, true warriors. But the number one reason is the payday, man. I really think it's the payday. They're getting paid over here. Boxing getting paid. Now, MMA, some people the one thing about MMA is the fights you want to see, for the most part, they get made. But that's because you have the dictator sitting up there, man. Dana White. And he controls all that. So he makes whatever fights. And then you come over to boxing, you have a Dana White for the WBC, a Dana White for the WBA, IBF, WBO. Then those are like 4 or 5 Dana Whites, IBF. Then you come down and you look at all the different promoters and, whatever, advisor, whatever, and promoters. So you have about, hundreds of Dana Whites. And each of them have a voice. Each of them have a little bit of power. And if they decide they don't want their guy to fight, the fight doesn't happen. Ultimately, the fans suffer, but then their fighters suffer too, because some of them not all fighters get to command $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 million paydays fighting nobody. And when I say nobodies, I don't mean that disrespectfully. I think you understand what I'm saying when I say nobodies. But for the most part, those other guys where promoters aren't working together, or promoters just aren't really working hard for their fighters, they don't get those opportunities. So they keep nickel and diming, but the whole time, man, they're getting punched in the face. So the thing about Dana White, and you just got to be fair. See, the good thing is, at least he calls the shots, he makes the fights, and they get to see the fights you want in MMA. But the guys aren't getting paid. They're not getting paid the money they deserve. And when they look over at their pay-per-views are always selling crazy numbers. Their events are always selling out. Like the MMA stuff is just the fans are just fanatics. But at the same time, the fighters aren't making not even 1/20th of what their counterparts in boxing are making. And that's why you see these MMA fighters, especially the females right now. Well, they're all talking about it, but now the females want to come over. But, going forward, man, we'll see what they're going to do about rescheduling the fight. I'm very confident that Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, too, are going to be in Ireland. And, we'll just see. We'll just see what they're going to do. The thing I'm the most curious about is how much these women are going to get paid. And, I mean, that would be amazing if they were able to crack the 8 figures, man. That would be amazing. And then what that goes to show you? Man, you can say what you want about Jake Paul. It takes a YouTuber who, he has money, but he's not selfish. And he's really trying. That's called selflessness, man. You know what I'm saying? Truly an altruistic character, man. And we got to respect that. So let's see how much they're going to get paid, man. I hope they get eight figures, you know what I'm saying? And I hope they stay healthy, man, heal up, and they come back strong. But right now, man, all eyes are definitely on women's boxing. A lot of us who are boxing fans, we remember Christy Martin's the first time that I really started paying attention, because she was just knocking people out, not like knockouts. Then after that was Ann Wolfe, just ridiculous in the ring. And then, of course, Layla Ali, and then you had Frazier's daughter, but really, those are the 3 probably well-known names in female boxing. And then now, hell, we could talk about all kinds of names in women's boxing, because it's gained popularity, and you got to attribute the popularity to the Christy Martins, to the Ann Wolves, to the Layla Ali's. And Layla Ali may have had it a little easier, but it's not her fault. She's Muhammad Ali's daughter. She could fight. She wasn't in there having fights fixed for her. She could fight. She's heavy-handed, and she had to put the work in. So, very excited to see the direction women's boxing continue to go. And I'm kind of glad Dazn has finally got themselves a win, because everybody hates on Dazn. Everybody, man. It's ridiculous. And I know a lot of people don't like Eddie Hearn, because he's always talking. He's always in interviews. But Eddie Hearn, man, he's hustling. You can't knock the hustle, man. And like Eddie Hearn said one day, don't hate the player, hate the game. And that's the truth, man. Don't hate on him, man. He's working and he's handling business. But anyway, man, that's my 2 cents, man. Outstanding for Serrano and Katie Taylor. 170 markets. 170 markets, man. And just blowing up on an international level, female boxing. Great. But anyway, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Y'all keep safe. Appreciate the support. Shout out to all the veterans. I'm in the breeze.